The Achaemenid Persians took Syria from Babylonia as part of their hegemony of southwest Asia in 539 BC. The Persians, having spent 4 centuries under Assyrian rule, retained Imperial Aramaic as the language of the Achaemenid Empire, 539 BC 330 BC, and also the Assyrian name of the satrapy of Aram, Syria Eber-Nari. Syria was conquered by the Greek Macedonian Empire, ruled by Alexander the Great circa 330 BC, and consequently became Coele-Syria province of the Greek Seleucid Empire, 323 BC. 64 BC. It was the Greeks who introduced the name Syria to the region. Originally an Indo-European corruption of Assyria in northern Mesopotamia, the Greeks used this term not only to describe Assyria itself but the lands to the west which had for centuries been under Assyrian dominion. Thus in the Greco-Roman world both the Arameans of Syria and the Assyrians of Mesopotamia to the east were referred to as Syrians or Syriacs. Despite these being distinct peoples in their own right, a confusion which would continue into the modern world. Palmyra, a rich and sometimes powerful native Aramaic-speaking kingdom arose in northern Syria in the 4th century BC, independent of the Greeks. Eventually parts of southern Seleucid Syria were taken by Judean Hasmoneans upon the slow disintegration of the Hellenistic Empire. Syria briefly came under Armenian control from 83 BC. With the conquests of Tigranes the Great, who was welcomed as a savior from the Seleucids and Romans by its people. The Armenians retained control of Syria for 2 decades before being driven out by the Romans. Pompey the Great of the Roman Empire, who captured Antioch in 64 BC, turning Syria into a Roman province. Palmyra again remained largely independent, and in the late 3rd century AD it became the center of the short-lived Parmian Empire, which briefly conquered Egypt, Syria, Palestine, much of Asia Minor, Judah and Lebanon, before being finally brought under Roman control in 273 AD. The northern Mesopotamian Assyrian kingdom of Adiabene controlled areas of northeast Syria between 10 AD and 117 AD, before it was conquered by Rome. The Aramaic language has been found as far afield as Hadrian's Wall in ancient Britain, with inscriptions written by Assyrian and Aramean soldiers of the Roman Empire. Control of Syria eventually passed from the Romans to the Byzantines. With the split in the Roman Empire, the largely Aramaic-speaking population of Syria during the heyday of the Byzantine Empire was probably not exceeded again until the 19th century. Prior to the Arab-Islamic conquest in the 7th century AD, the bulk of the population were Arameans. But Syria was also home to Greek and Roman ruling classes. Assyrians still dwelt in the northeast, Phoenicians along the coasts, and Jewish and Armenian communities was also extant in major cities, with Nabateans and pre-Islamic Arabs such as the Lakhmids and Ghassanids dwelling in the deserts or southern Syria. Syriac Christianity had taken hold as the major religion, although others still followed Judaism, Mithraism, Manichaeanism, Greco-Roman religion, Canaanite religion and Mesopotamian religion. Syria's large and prosperous population made Syria one of the most important of the Roman and Byzantine provinces, particularly during the 2nd and 3rd centuries. AD. The Roman Emperor Alexander Severus, who was emperor from 222 to 235, was an Aramean from Syria. His cousin Elagabalus, who was emperor from 218 to 222, was also from Syria, and his family held hereditary rights to the high priesthood of the Aramean sun god Elgabal at Emissa, modern Homs, in Syria. Another Roman emperor who was Assyrian was Philip the Arab, Marcus Julius Philippus, emperor from 244 to 249. Syria is significant in the history of Christianity. Saulus of Tarsus, better known as the Apostle Paul, was converted on the road to Damascus and emerged as a significant figure in the Christian church at Antioch in ancient Syria, from which he left on many of his missionary journeys. Acts 9:1-43.